Alright, so today we're doing something kinda cool and simple. A little 2D anime city in Blender. It's got that soft glow, some reflections kinda, like like those quiet Tokyo nights you see in anime. Everything's procedural, no heavy modeling, no painting windows one by one, just shaders, geometry nodes, and a bit of that dreamy vibes using Compositor. Nothing too crazy, just a fun way to build a stylized city. Chill out and make something nice. So let's jump in. As you might see, this is the project file. You will have it in the link in the description if you wanna download it and explore a little bit. It is up on my Patreon account. You can just join me right there, and it's just a cool way to support this channel. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting this channel. I mean it, guys. Thank you. Without you, we couldn't just make these tutorials. But anyways, this is the project file. If we jump into the 3D viewport, we'll see that it's like this. I got this idea. I will show you an image from Pinterest. I saw an image that someone explained how buildings are made. Like background buildings are, using drawing softwares and stuff like this. It shows you a step-by-step guide how to draw this. And yeah, that's the whole idea of how I created these buildings. Okay, it just 2D stuff. It's not 3D at all. But from the camera angle, it looks amazing. And probably you saw the intro. It is animated. We have the water, etc. So we can play that. As you can see, even though I'm recording, the FPS is quite good. From 24 to like 15, it's pretty good. We lost only like 7 to 8 frames. Yeah, it's not that much. Lower system, and I got these FPS that's really good. Yeah, and it is customizable. That means if I select that and goes, oh, okay, I haven't saved these to the modifier. So let's go to geometry nodes, and everything is controlled via this node setup. It's nothing too complicated. This section here is just for the intro. It is just this text animation, so don't worry about that. We can just frame this, Control J, just move this out of the way, and we can connect that. Very good. So this is the whole node setup. As you can see, we have just these distribute points on faces nodes. With this seed value, you can just randomize it. So if I click like this, you can see I get random building distribution. And I got this merge by distance. You can use it if you have some buildings intersecting by each other's. But for now, they're not. Oh yeah. Also, I have this thing. It's hard to move. But anyways, I have this thing for the foreground, so it gives like um this cyan glowy thing here, just to add a bit of chili. But yeah, to have some contrast, we have oranges, a lot of orange values right here. So why not to use some cyan, some blue tones. And as well, we have the background, it's procedural. But anyways, enough talking about that. So let's go to a pressure blender scene, and let's start from the start. Anyways, this is delete everything, and I'm going to start using just a mesh plane. Go to the front view by pressing numpad 1, okay, and just rotate this along the x-axis like this. And to make a good building, just scale it however you like, like so, like that, GZ, and move it up like so. Go to edit mode, select these, shift S cursor selected, Q, set origin to the 3D cursor like this, Control A, apply all the transforms. That's going to be pretty good. So yeah, when we rotate, okay, that's pretty good. Just to make the geometry nodes understand that better, when we distribute these buildings, it's gonna distribute from this origin. So we don't have this intersecting to the ground if the origin was in the center. So yeah, keep that in mind. For the snapping the origin to the 3D cursor, it's just object, set origin, 3D cursor. You can just right click that and add it to your quick favorites. And by the way, I'm using Blender version 4.1 because I like it, and it's just silky smooth we don't have that lag you need to wait for compiling shaders. Yeah, you'll get a hard time playing with that. So I'm going to move this right here, and let's open a new window. Not here. Oh my days, what I just did. We need to open this, okay, like so. Make this bigger so you can see better. And let's open our shader editor. And right now, just jump into the material preview by holding Z and just material preview. Select the plane, add new material. Let's call it building. You have a ton of these materials, so just name them and label them. So anyways, let's jump into the other scene and see the buildings themselves. I'm just going to open up city assets. Let's select one of them and slash, and let's open up the shader editor. So basically there is a ton of math behind this shader to create this one, and it is procedural. That means when we just move it, we will get this type of, you know, changing patterns like so. So the whole idea is to just get like kind of a gradient to create like a border. So it's a mask. This is a mask, and this is the window itself. This is another mask, just to get like this mask. And then this is the coloring section here. And voila, that's it. So first we need to create a border. To create a border, I'm just going to use maths. You can use like just gradient texture and just move that around, and voila. Or you can just use Voronoi, brick texture, whatever. So it's up to your imagination, but I'm just going to show you the hardest way. And you know, when you just got this way, you'll be good to go. So we need a texture coordinate, okay, like this. And basically we have an object, so we are going to use the object coordinates. We are not going to use the UV or anything, so it's based on the object itself. So let's use that. And especially it's just a 2D plane, it doesn't matter. We need a separate XYZ node just to separate these values from each other's. So right now we have the X, so we need to create like line from here, and also with the Z values, line from the bottom, line from above. So let's start with the X, and I'm going to use greater than or less than, whatever. That will create a sharp edge like this. And in between, I'm going to use math node. So let's add a math, and I'm going to use add. Why I'm going to use add? To add this to this value, so I can just move it around. You just hold that and just move it. You can hold shift so you can move precisely, as you can see. That's pretty good. So that's a good value. So 1.7 is a good value. And I'm going to do the inverse of that. I need this black bar to be in the opposite side. How to do that? Basically, duplicate that, use the same thing, and voila. We can invert that with the less than. Let's try. My mouse has some issues, so don't worry. Let's do less than. Yeah, we can have the opposite of that with less than. So maybe 0.7 minus 0.7 is the perfect value. Yeah, minus 0.7 is the perfect value. And I'm going to use another math node, and I'm going to use multiply to multiply these values together. Yeah, it's like this. Move that to that, and move that to, voila, that's it. So that's the basic idea of creating like a border mask. Now let's create the Z one. So for the Z, it's just a duplicate of that, and use the same object coordinate right here, and let's use the Z value instead of the Y, or the X, sorry. Now let's see if that's gonna work or not. Of course it's not gonna work. Why? So first let's highlight one of these. Let's start with the bottom maybe. If we move this value, you will see we can't just move how we want. So let's pick a value. Let's do 0.2. Let's do 0.2. And here let's use minus 0.2. No. 1.2 maybe. 1.2. Oh my days. So what's the value? Holy. Let's do -7. Maybe -8. Oh, that's too much. 7.5. 7.1. Okay. For that, we need to just eyeball it. Yeah, just eyeball it, guys. So basically, now we have the other mask. So we have two masks. I'm going to move this out of the way. Okay, we need to combine these. So basically, use the math node multiply and multiply these two masks together. So we have one combined mask. Voila, that's it. How you can create a border like this one. So basically, we achieved this one with much less nodes. In that setup, I used map range because I had trouble using this z value. Where is the z value? The x, where is the z? Oh, for the z, I've used the mapping node to achieve that z coordinates. It was hard time for me. Maybe it was a problem with this plane. Maybe I have no clue. But right now we have achieved this thing. Now we need to get this type of thing. How we can get that? So basically, to get that, we need to use also math. I'm going to duplicate this. And for that, let's use again separate XYZ node. Separate XYZ node. There is multiple of ways to create this pattern. I'm going to show you the ones that I know. Let's use the Z coordinate and let's use greater than. Here's the trick. Right now, I'm going to use fraction. Fraction means repeating values. It's gonna repeat values over and over again. But why it's not working? Why it's not working? Let's use math node. Let's use add again. It's not working for some reason. Maybe use. Oh yeah. I'm not going to use this greater than here. I'm going to use it right here after that fraction. Okay, that was the problem. Anyways, now it's working. With this math node, I can control how they are doing that. And also I can control their width with this. Yep, I can control the width of this. But there is another problem. I need to use a mapping node. Or I can use the math node scale. Let's use scale. Is there any scale right now? Let's use multiply, whatever. My mouse is doing. Ah, yeah, multiply is gonna work. Yeah, multiply can generate more stuff. Okay, that's too much my mouse, guys. Anyways, we can generate a lot of windows, make them thick or less thick. Okay, so basically we get the same effect, but here we use just these three nodes. Fraction greater than these. This one just to repeat the pattern. This one to make it sharp. Yeah, the mapping node is doing the same thing that we did with this this add, multiply, and separate XYZ. But I like this one better because that one is a lot of guessing. You need to guess the location, you need to guess the rotation, you need to guess the scaling, whatever thing. Yeah, it's just simple values. Okay, we will combine them to one group, so don't worry about that. So first, let's name these. Select that, Control J, and let's name that F2 first mask. Very good. Okay, Control J, F2 Windows mask. Very good. And now what we need. Okay, let's go back right now. Just to get inspiration because I forgot about that. Because yeah, I did that a lot of time ago. Okay, what I'm saying. Here, what I did is I masked out some of these windows. And also right now, I did two masks. Okay, one here and one right down. Yeah. I get that. The same idea. Let's duplicate this. Shift D. You'll be good at math if you just math nodes, you know? If you just how they say it? I have no idea. Anyways, let's use separate XYZ again. And greater than, or let's use add before, you know. We will need it. and greater than, and also Control Shift D, or maybe not here. Select these both, Control Shift D, and switch that to less than. Combine these together. Let's combine them using a multiply node. This, and let's view that. Very good. Or view them individually. Okay, let's get that like so. Get that like so. Combine these together. Okay, that's pretty good. So now we have that mask. We have that. Okay, pretty good. Now we need to flip it maybe. Yeah, we need to flip it. So we need black here. The easiest way to add a map range. Or you can add color ramp. But we're using mats, so keep using mats. I'm going to map from 1 to 0 to flip the values. Some people using 2 min, 2 max. I have no idea why, but from 1 to 0. Pretty good. Now we have just flipped these values. So this is our first mask. Let's duplicate the same setup and let's duplicate this as well. And let's create the other one. So basically, just move this above and just move this right here. And later on, we can just play with it, okay? That's pretty good. So now, actually, we can combine these together. If we just added a multiply and multiply this one with this one. Yeah, we can do that, totally. So, yeah, just select these G and move them like so. Move everything like so. Okay, pretty good. Nice. So let's go back right here. See again. What's that? I just did here. Yeah, multiply these together. Yeah, multiply these over these. Multiply these. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. I get that. I get that. So it's a multiplication of everything. First, let's multiply this border with this pattern, and again, everything to everything. So multiply everything to everything. Basically, we get the same idea. Same thing. And just to make sure we have, sorry. Yeah, we just removed one. Yeah, it's the same thing. And I'm going to use right now the brick texture to generate like kind of window sills. Okay, so let's use brick texture. So just bear with me, guys. I know it's a bit, how do you say, boring process, but anyways, so let's view that. Color or factor, whatever. Let's use color because it's inverted. And let's use, for the vector coordinate, I'm going to use the object coordinate as well here, because it's gonna be based on objects. Very good. And we need a mapping node. Okay, put it inside. Very good. Now here's the deal. Oh, we need to rotate 90 degrees on the x-axis. And we have some weird stuff going on. Oh, that's a cool pattern actually. It's a really cool pattern. So we have a pattern right here, pattern right here. That's good for a building actually. That's really good. Yep, that's really good. Maybe it's not the x-axis, so 0 again. 90 degrees for the y. No, it's not the y. Z maybe. It's not Z, so yeah. X, 90 degrees. 90, just 90. Let's do 1 degree. 45. Oh, let's do 90 degrees. It's better. But anyways, we did that. Let's scale it down at this point. And let's play with this frequency. Okay. We need some randomness, you know. Frequency like the seed value. Squash. What is that? Oh, that's pretty good. Squash. Let's add some squashy. And overall height and width. That's gonna be cool. Mortal size. Yeah, we need some mortal size as well. And we need values, white values. So keep it white as possible. And right now we need to multiply this over that. So multiply that with that. Let's see. Pretty good. Now here's the deal. You need just to play with the width and height until you get like these windows cells. Like so, yeah. Pretty good. Pretty much like this. That's the whole idea. Now we're done with this procedural building thing. So this is another mask. So Ctrl J. Let's name it F2. Final mask. Very good. And now the coloring process is just based on an emission. So emission, mixed together using this mask. And just view that. Okay. One of these, it should be this color. So let's take this color. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. This one should be, or the inverse of that. So Alt S to flip these. Okay. And to get some variation in colors, I'm just going to use Voronoi, and we need color input. Add some color ramps to make a grayscale, you know. Is there like a bit of details? People are running with their motorcycles, whatever. So let's add texture coordinate, and let's use object coordinates as well. The scaling matters, so let's make it big a little bit. And what we need is a mix RGB, mix color, sorry. A long time ago it was mix RGB. That's why I named my channel Mix 3D. Just mixing things together. Not the case, but you know. Let's make it brighter. One color needs to be brighter than the other, you know, or the inverse. Maybe this one needs to be the brightest color, you know. Yeah, maybe like this, and connect that straight to the color of the emission, and voila. Just tighten these up. You can enable the snapping tools so you can snap that correctly. So this is the coloring section. We need to keep it simple. Maybe Ctrl J, F2, coloring, and just view that. And you can make it glowy like so. So basically that's the whole idea of creating a building procedurally using this procedural node setup. And you don't need the principal PSTF because it's just a waste of time. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to group all of these. So let's group them. Ctrl G to group. And what we need to expose is some values. So just bear with me. We need to expose these. So now basically we're done with just grouping all of these. So everything, I added it to its own socket with naming. So everything is organized kind of. Now when we press tab, we will get just this cool, neat just node. We have this viewer, we can connect just this. Don't need this viewer anymore. So let's remove the viewer. Very good. And you can see that, okay? But here's the thing. Now if I just move this, it doesn't generate new building style. That means I can't do that procedurally. So I need to control each value by itself. So that's gonna take a lot of time for me. But basically what I'm going to do is Shift A in the 3D viewport and add an empty. This empty will control everything. So basically, I'm just going to go to node setup, and what I need to change, I need basically to change the texture movement. Select that. Very good, it's changed. What I need to change, yeah, basically just the texture, and also I need to change this thing, this color variation. So it's not the same throughout the scene. The others is just a mask. So that means right now I generate cool stuff. Pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, go to the front view, Shift D, and just move that. And here's the thing, I'm just going to select that frame all, and I'm going to duplicate this material because I want to change it a little bit. So let's name it building, like so. And I'm going to change maybe window mask up. Okay, maybe let's do that. Let's hide this one. Let's do the same thing for the other one. Something like this. Again, let's do a bit of width, maybe like so. This, here's the thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I have two type of buildings. and I can just duplicate that, and voila, I have another one. So this is the core idea. And we have another type of buildings, okay? So let's press slash again, select everything, slash. I have this type of buildings, okay? Like this tower kind of buildings. So it's the same. Shift D, move this up, and tap to go to edit mode. Select this one, or maybe it's just Control R to add a loop cut, Control B to bevel that loop cut. I'm just going to full screen that. Select this edge, E to extrude, Z, Control R, Control B, select that, EZ, Control R again, Control B, select that, EZ, like so. And here's the thing, I need to add new materials to these things so I can like create like a beam of light, like so, like you have right here. I got that from the image that I showed you guys. But anyways, let's do that. Let's go to the slots, create new material, and let's name it beams, whatever. Select this one, the first one, and I'm going to select this beams material and assign it. And what I'm going to do, simply emission, Control V for that color. Oh, I forgot the color. Let's select this one, Control C, go to here, frame all, Control V. This one should be just black. And just merge them together, mix them, sorry. And for the mask, what I'm going to use, basically texture coordinate. Okay, I'm going to use object and separate XYZ node. Again, the same thing, Z, because I want up and down. So let's add a matte node. And let's add that to here. Maybe I'm going to add the color ramp. Okay, let's see. Maybe we need to just move this one. Just move it like so. Flip that color ramp like so. Maybe use ease or B-spline, wherever that suits you. Let's use B-spline. One thing that I like, but I don't like about B-spline, it keeps like, I can just do that thing. I can just flip that. But anyways, just keep it like this. Do the same thing for all of these. I'm just going to select that, create new material, and use this beam material, duplicate it. It's gonna be beams number 2, and assign it. Basically that's it, and just move this add matte node. Basically for the other one, same thing, add new material, select that. This material is gonna be beam number 2, duplicate that, beam number 3, make sure it's assigned, and just like so. Pretty good. And we need some straight lines. To create these straight lines, I'm going to use this setup, and the greater than, I'm going to use the X, and I'm going to use matte node fraction. Let's use fraction to repeat the same pattern. Okay, connect that to here and see. Yeah, we need a matte node multiply to scale that up, down, sorry, not up. Get it down. How many do we need? Okay, and just move these to, maybe we need 3, maybe. Yeah, we need just 3. Maybe this one needs to be tall a bit, like so, like that. And what to do, I duplicated something by mistake, yeah. Shift D this, connect that here. We need another one, use this as a mask, pretty much like this. Yeah, that's cool. And you can control this one also. So this is gonna be beam 3. Let's go to the beam 2. Beam 2, increase this. Beam 1, increase this. So basically that's it. And you need to create another one without this lighting, like just simple one. Just pretty easy. Shift D, X, lock it to the x-axis so it's not going down. And for the beams duplicate, so I'm going to name it beams D for duplicate, and I'm going to just hide it. We can just turn off this one, like use this color black to black. Beams 2, let's duplicate this, and beam 2 D for duplicate, black to black, and finally beams 3 duplicate, and black to black, black, no, sorry, just black here. Oh yeah, like this. Very good. So now we pretty much made this one. What we can do, actually, we can just go back to the building material and we can change something. Maybe we need to duplicate this one. Building, for instance. Maybe change the brick size. Something like this. So now we have variations. We can create smaller ones as well. You can just select that one and make it small, like so. And building small, let's call it small. So this is the mask. Oh yeah, we need to, what's happening? Where is the other mask? No, yeah, this is the mask. Something like this. And this is the up mask to be a little like so. Yeah, maybe something like this. Very good. Now we have some buildings. So M, move them to a new collection. Let's call it buildings. So right now it's time to distribute these buildings on a flat plane. So let's hide these from their collection and just make sure everything has its own origin in this place. So yeah, this is the origin. This is the yellow dot, so yeah, that means the origin is in the place. So basically right now, to scatter or distribute this, I'm just going to create Shift A and add a plane, and instead of this shader editor, I'm going to use the geometry nodes editor and create new geometry node setup for that. Okay, pretty good. Now we can actually remove this group input. Let's use a grid. We need everything to be procedural, so let's use grid. Grid is basically a plane, okay? And you can just play with this scaling. Okay, perfect. Let's use 10 meters, like so. And we need to distribute points on faces node. So it's gonna distribute some points. Okay, it's random. It can be not random, maybe with this poison. What? It is. Oh yeah. Faces to point. Point maybe. Point. Mesh to point, yeah. Mesh to point. And that will make these not random. So for each face it's gonna, or each vertices, sorry, it's gonna have point, or each edge will have point, or each face will have point. You know, you get the point. Or corners. So yeah, if you want something not random, you can use mesh to points, or you can use just distribute points on faces. That will gives us a lot of points. And for distance minimum, so you don't have any colliding verts, like so, and just keep a small value. And we need an instance on points node. And what we need to instance is our collection. So let's add collection info node, and we are going to use our buildings collection. Right now they are so big and they are intersecting, so separate children's and pick instances. Very good. And we need to scale that a little bit, like so. And we don't need that much of building, so just small amount, sorry, make this big, something like that. And you can make fewer of these using this distance min, just few of these. Perfect, very good. So with just few nodes we created this. Now if we go to the render viewport, we can see that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. So what we need to do is to create a base for that. So let's create a plane, make it big, go to top view and scale that like so. Make sure it is covering everything. Tap to go to edit mode, each extrude everything, and Z, lock it to the Z axis to create like a base. Shift and add another plane and move it and scale it like so. Scale along the Y axis and make sure it is under this base like this. This is gonna be our water surface. Okay, so let's select this and just move it along the Y axis. Very good. Now what we need, we need this fog or haze or whatever. To create that, I'm just going to add another plane RX90 and slash to focus on that. Tap to go to edit mode, GZ, and just move it up. And you can scale it like so to fit the size that you like, you know. And just open the shader editor. And let's add new material and call it fog or haze or whatever. I'm going to use emission and a transparent PSDF. Mix these together and make sure this material has in the blending mode. Maybe for the newer versions of Blender you don't have this, you have just fewer settings. It's much better. Maybe right out of the bat it says so transparent. But anyways, blend mode, alpha blend. Okay, so it's smoother steps for the blend mode. Don't use the alpha clip. Alpha clip, it's gonna clip the values to 1, 0 to 1. That's it. There is no over and in between. So either 0 or 1. That's it. There is no 0.5, 0.7, 0.9, something like this. So yeah, that's the basic idea of how blending works in Blender. And we need the same value for the color. Okay, you can make it like this. And we need a texture coordinate as usual. Okay, and make sure you applied all the transforms for that. Object, separate XYZ node. We need an add matte node and just plug that into the factor. And basically you got for yourself a haze. Let's add a color ramp. Make sure it is B-spline maybe, thing like this. Maybe let's add another matte node. Set that to multiply. That will make it more smooth. We can still see a line, but that doesn't matter. And we have some sharper edges. We need to remove these. Remove them. I'm going to use the same setup, but in the inverse. Let's use that. Let's see that. Perfect. And let's use another one. Flip these values and let's add them together using multiply to 1 and another mix shader node with another transparent and use this as a factor for that. And let's see, maybe we need color ramp. That's to ease, put that in between. What's happening with Blender? But anyways, let's flip these. Very good, like that. And just play with these matte nodes until you have this fading effect, something like this, you know. Very good. Now make sure this is in its own collection. Let's call it fog, this, and slash again to go out of this, and you can just hide these collections. Let's give these materials, so let's call this base. Let's give it like a black material with not that reflective, you know, like specular. What is a specular? Yeah. Lower value, so it's kind of too dark. This one's gonna be water, so let's name it water surface. Maybe this W needs to be big, uppercase maybe, like this. For water, just black, you know, somewhat like this. And we need noise texture. Okay, Control T that to add mapping texture coordinates. Make sure this is plugged to the vector, and use this as height for a bump node. and plug this to the normal. And one thing to note, people use the strength rather than using the distance, and that's wrong, totally wrong, because the strength is like the opacity. So as you can see, it's like an opacity. It seems to work like a real strength, but no, it's working like an opacity. But the distance is more accurate because you can see the distance acting like it is displacing the actual mesh, and that's true rather than using just this normal strength, which is like an opacity. Some people likes this strength value, but I like to use the distance because it's more accurate and just a small value, and it looks good to me. Maybe apply the transforms to see that better, and the scaling is a lot. Make it something like this, realistic. And now let's add camera. We need a camera, and let's go to the front view, Ctrl Alt 0, and that will snap the camera to the view. The camera right now, it is 50 millimeters. Maybe let's add 180. Okay, like this. And just move it to the side because it's not in the center. G double Z, move it back like so, and just select that. Just move it like so. Perfect. As you can see, that looks good. But we have some grayness because of this world lighting. This world lighting giving us this gray color. Also, I need to turn up this compositor right now. So let's go to the world and let's make a night sky kind of thing. So this, we could use this. That's too strong, maybe. That's too zoomed in. But anyways, that's not for this one. We need a night sky. So texture coordinate. Okay. Object coordinate. Separate XYZ. We need to create a gradient, basically, and a color ramp to give it some colors, and plug that into this. If you haven't seen how I did this this node group, watch my tutorial. I will leave it in, you know, in the right corner or the left corner, so you can see how I did the setup for this blend file. Anyways, let's make this black for now because we don't need any lighting. We need only the background. So right now we have that gradient. It's pretty good. Now we can control this gradient. We can make either smooth using this multiply. It's heck of a lot smooth, you know. Maybe that's too much. Draw something like this. And we need some colors. So I'm going to steal the colors from this blend file because they are looking good. I'm going to use this color, and yeah, color. This is gonna be black for some reason. Maybe it's not going to be totally black. It's going to be somewhat to this value. Okay, let's see from the camera view. Yeah, that's perfect. Maybe that's too much. Maybe something like this. Like this, yeah, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And you can control it with this slider right here. And we need some stars. To create stars, it's just a Voronoi picture, and connect the object coordinates to it, and use the distance. And let's use a color ramp. Or you can use a greater than actually, without using the color ramp. Greater. And see how it's gonna work. We need a lot of these. And actually we need to invert this. So let's use a math node multiply by -1 to flip this, and just play with this greater than and make the scale a lot, you know, so like this. And we need this gradient, and make sure this is black and white, and multiply these together. Connect that here, connect that above. Let's see, is it gonna be masked? Wait, what's happening? Let's clamp the results, or maybe clamp them here. What's happening? Yeah, something like that. It is just okay. Play something like this. Perfect. And let's add this to that. Let's use a mix color node. So let's add mix color, and let's add that to that. So this dots needs to be above. So B is actually above and A is actually down. So the order here is flipped. And basically, maybe we need to separate. Let's use emission and shader to RGB. Connect that to that, connect that to that. So something like this. Just to make these strong a little bit. Maybe just limit the camera. So let's go to the viewport display, pass per 2. Let's make it 1. Okay, perfect. That is perfect. I need to get the camera focal length from this one. Let's see, the camera focal length is, what is the camera focal length? 200 and something. Okay, let's change the camera focal length. 200 and something. Double Z that. Perfecto. Maybe shift the camera to look above a little bit. So we have somewhat of a sky, you know. Or maybe the inverse of that. So it's gonna look down a little bit. Yep, maybe the inverse. That looks good. Very good. The water is too small. So water surface, let's make it, let's switch back to object. Water surface, scale. Yep, something like that. That looks good. The roughness, give it a bit of roughness, you know. Very good. What I forgot to do is to distribute the fog. Now let's do the fog again. Ctrl Shift D, because the fog is separated than this one. And points to points. And we need to use this collection. Sorry, what's happening? Points. Use that. Instance. What we need. And let's join these two geometries together. The fog is kind of intensive. So let's select, okay, go to its material. It's too strong. Make it like this. Go back to geometry nodes. Okay, very good. Here's the deal. Yep. We can make the fog a little bit wide, so it's covering the whole area. As you can see, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's really nice actually. We can make these other buildings tall. Okay, so let's activate. I haven't named them, so let's go to that one. Let's select this one, GZ, and make it tall a little bit. And while I'm here, let's change its Z up mask until the top, like so. Very good. And it's probably a good time to save your file because I forgot to save it. So to the anime city, and it's gonna be tutorial 1. Very good. It's a good time to save. I forgot. And to name these, I'm going to select all of them. Shift F2, not Shift F2, Control F2, sorry. Control F2, and let's do type set name, new, and let's name it building. And it's gonna automatically name them building 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. if you have a lot of these, so they have the same name but a different value for them. So yeah, perfect. Right now, just hide these and go back to your main scene. So perfect. Now you have taller buildings, smaller buildings, etc., etc. But we have something yet to do, which is to play with the compositor a little bit. So right now, yeah, it's good, but it's not that good. So let's go to the compositor and make it looks 100 times better. So for now, I'm going to mute these glare nodes. Of course, you are going to see the video where I set up my blend file and I have all of these nodes together. Anyways, and for the vignette, I don't need that much of this vignette, you know. I'm just going to make it subtle. As you can see, you can see this weird things. They are caused by this soft light, so let's mute it as well and mute this one. Okay, don't need it for now. Let's create a glare node. You probably have bloom instead of what we have right now. I'm going to use simple stars. Okay, that will create this angled kind of stars. Very good. And you have their threshold, so make this threshold kind of a little bit like this. I'm going to lower down the strength of these stars right here. Anyways, that's pretty good. For the noise, we need a bit of noise. Of course, we need a bit of noise. And also we need a bit of dispersion and distortion, a little bit. And for these box sharpen soften, I'm going to decrease them a little bit. Okay. And for the left, which is the shadows, let's make them a bit towards cyan, and other ones toward orangish and yellowish tones. Perfect. What I'm going to do or add is I'm going to add a Kawahara node. Okay. And move it from classic to anisotropic, and the sharpness a lot, and this one also, and the scale is about 1 or point something, you know. We don't need it to be a lot, you know, just a little bit. You can see my scene is a bit heavy because recording and doing these effects in real time, that's a lot. You're asking for a lot. Anyways, let's go back to the shader editor. Let's go to the world settings. What I'm going to do, lower down this emission, and that will make these stars a little bit, not too much. Okay. Right now, let's go back to geometry nodes. We need to group these. Control G, and let's expose these to the group input. We need seed. We need how many of these? Also, we need seed and how many of these. Also, the scaling matters, and also the scaling of these other ones matters. So right now we have these. We can have group input, and let's plug these again to here. Expose them to the modifier. Basically, just connect these. So right now, if we just open up this modifier socket, we will have all of these parameters for us. So now let's close this. Very good. And now what you can do, play with the seed. That will give you, oh, I like this. I like this. Sometimes you get like these. Don't worry, that looks good. And actually, you can play with the colors however you want. Now let's go back to the camera. How to create this effect where I just did the focus thing. I just created a new empty. You can do maybe a cube, and let's call it focus controller. Let's go to the camera, select the camera, enable depth of field. You'll see this cool effect. I like this cool effect, and I drop the focus controller. And for the f-stop, I'm going to use 1.4 for the f-stop, and rotation I'm going to use like 20 degrees kind of, and I need 8 of the blades, which is kind of a realistic camera in a 2D anime stuff, you know. Anyways, the ratio, don't play with this. You can play with it anyways. And yeah, pretty much like this. The controller is in the middle of the city. We need it to go like, let's open up this timeline. Let's press K, location, and let's go to frame number 60. Sorry, let's do 120 here. Let's go to the frame number 60 here, and GY, move it to this place, K, and let's do location. So basically we are going to invert these, something like this. You can make this slower by just moving this outside like this. Basically you have like that. Okay. There is a formula in photography, which is you need a kind of percentage of the foreground and the background, and the main focus is the midground. So basically you need to keep like a stable percentage between the foreground and the background. So like go to this. So basically this is the background and this is the foreground. So this is foreground, this is background. So they need to have like same percentage, like 30%. How to write 30, and whole also here 30%, and keep the other percentage to the focus area. So just increase the size of the X for the buildings, okay? And also if you just go to this water, increase it to make it tall as you saw in the intro. So yeah, That's how you can make it looks better. And you will see a lot of reflection. So yeah, that's really cool and neat. And you can, based on that, because you have a lot of these, you can just go back to where we were, to shader editor, not shader editor, compositor. Let's go to the compositor. Just again, I'm going to enable fog glow. Enable the fog glow and connect it straight to the image. From the image straight to the image. Delete this, and that will add a bit of glow. Very good. Control this simple stars also, their threshold, and have fun. Go to the wireframe and render. That will render faster. And voila, you got for yourself a 2D anime city. Okay, we need to turn up this freestyle again. Render that again. Give it a bit to composite, and voila. If you have some suggestions, guys, just drop that in the comment. Maybe something to create for the next video. And